Hello, I'm State Representative Antani from the 42nd House District. Welcome to Ohio in Focus.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Ohio in Focus, a program that brings state government to you. I'm your host, Patrick Schwartz. We have with us today State Representative Antani, who serves the 42nd Ohio House District, which serves most of southern Montgomery County. Thank you for joining us today, Representative.
Glad to be here.
Great. Well, we appreciate it. Let's talk about your new membership to the Ohio House. So every 2 years, we have members that leave the House and new members that come in. Representative Antani was appointed last year. He began serving in December and began his first elected term in January. I wanted to ask you what it means to you to be representing your community here in the Ohio House, and where did your passion for public service begin?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really an honor to serve the community where I was born and raised and have lived my entire life. My parents immigrated from India in 1978 and settled in Miamisburg and have lived there ever since. So, to me, I think it's important that we have a local focus on the issues, that we're really serving the interest of our community, in my case, southern Montgomery County. And that's where my passion is. The people that I'm serving are the people that I grew up with, that I went to school with, and their parents and grandparents. And so I'm really excited to help my community.
Great. Well, glad to hear that, sir. And, as the youngest member of the General Assembly at 24, I wanted to ask what kind of perspective you hope to bring to the House.
I think it's so important to have young elected officials. Our generation now, the millennial generation, is starting to take up the mantle of leadership in Ohio and around the country. And, we bring a different perspective to state government. Our generation grew up with technology. It grew up in a different time. It grew up in a post 9/11 world. So I think it's important that we bring all perspectives. The General Assembly is supposed to reflect the people, and a significant amount of people in Ohio are young. So I think we face unique challenges in our education system and in our economy. So I think it's important to have young voices at the table, and I'm proud to speak for all young people in Ohio.
Absolutely, and we're definitely glad to have your voice here in the Ohio House. Representative, can you tell us about what a typical day in the legislature is like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fast and it's furious. I spend all day meeting with constituents who are in Columbus regarding their industry. I meet with different people about different legislative initiatives. I meet with other members about bills and such. We also work on bills and research bills. And then we also have committee meetings. I serve on 5 committees, so I have quite busy days when I'm in Columbus. And then we also have voting session where we vote on the bills that are recommended from the committees. So it's a busy day.
Absolutely. With 5 committees, how do you balance your schedule?
Well, typically I'm bouncing between committees, and a lot of them run at the same time. So I'm going back and forth and trying to make sure that I'm there for the bills that are a priority to me, and also to make sure that I'm voting on all bills. So I try to make sure I'm there for all of my votes.
Absolutely. Well, can you talk a little bit about the difference between, say, a day in Columbus and a day in Miamisburg? Yeah,
when I'm in Columbus, the focus is on legislation and working on bills and trying to move my bills and get them passed. In Dayton, I'm meeting with constituents. I go to businesses to meet with business owners, talk about their concerns, and I also go to a lot of community events, and city council meetings. I was at a city council meeting just the other day in Germantown, and I will go and meet with local elected officials to hear their concerns. But typically you can find me on any day in Dayton driving around my district meeting with people.
Great. Let's move on to our next topic, which is going to be the committee assignments for the new GA. At the beginning of each General Assembly, the Speaker appoints all members to different House committees. There's 19 total this General Assembly. And Speaker Rosenberger has actually appointed you to 5 committees, which is a lot. So you'll be serving on the Community and Family Advancement Committee, the Community and Family Advancement Subcommittee on Minority Affairs, the Economic and Workforce Development Committee, the Judiciary Committee, and the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Let's first talk a little bit about the Subcommittee on Minority Affairs. As an Indian American and the first Indian American Republican to serve in the Ohio House, what does this appointment mean to you?
Sure, I'm honored to be appointed by the Speaker to all of the committees. I think he thinks I can handle the workload with 5 committees, but I think it's great that the Speaker made this committee and the Subcommittee on Minority Affairs. Ohio is a very diverse state. With a vibrant African American community, Hispanic community, and Asian American community. So I think that it's important that we focus on issues that deal with minority affairs. We have a lot of minority-owned businesses in Ohio, and as well as a lot of challenges. So I think that I'm really looking forward to serving on the committee to tackle those issues and to make Ohio a better place for our minorities.
Absolutely. Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about your other committees. What ways do you feel that these committee assignments specifically correlate to your background and to the needs of your district?
Sure. I came to the House of Representatives to work on job creation, to make sure that in the state of Ohio we have an economy and a taxation structure and a regulatory structure and a workforce development structure that is conducive to the private sector creating jobs. So I'm honored to serve on the Economic and Workforce Development Committee as well as all my other committees, and that's my primary focus in those committees. And so I'm looking forward to working to ensure that we have low taxes, we don't have burdensome regulations, and to also to ensure we have a skilled workforce to make sure that every Ohioan, if they want a job, they can get it.
Absolutely, and I know that the entire House has made that a priority for this General Assembly. Let's move on and talk a little bit about some big issues during this 131st General Assembly. Obviously, there's a lot that you and your colleagues are going to have to tackle. We've already seen legislation involving state testing in our schools, water quality, and opiate addiction be introduced and passed. So can you explain some of the other hot topics that you think that you and your colleagues will be tackling in the coming months?
Sure. I think that the governor's budget is the main issue that we'll be tackling over the next couple months. We want to make sure that we are good stewards of the taxpayer money, that we are striving to make government smaller and more efficient, but to also make sure that, again, our tax structure is friendly to businesses and individuals. So I think that we've done a lot of good work so far in the House. We're going to continue doing that, but I know that with my colleagues we're going to focus on creating an environment conducive to jobs, to a world-class education system in Ohio, and to working for the people to make government more efficient.
Absolutely, and I know you've been active so far yourself as well. So what do you envision as being some of the biggest challenges during this General Assembly?
I think that we are in an interesting place in the time of Ohio's economy. Ohio has been recovering under Governor Kasich and the legislature's leadership, and we're at a point where there are jobs available, but we need to make sure we have skilled people for those jobs. So, I think my focus is going to be on the challenge we face in our workforce. Over 52% of Ohioans graduate from high school but attain no higher education. We need to change that. We need to make sure that these students, when they graduate from high school, are able to go to a community college or a vocational school and to get the skills they need for these skilled trade jobs.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to our last topic, which is going to be, as you mentioned, the state budget. So every odd-numbered year, the General Assembly evaluates and produces a state biennium budget that determines the use of our state tax dollars. Before we delve into this, can you explain a little bit about the budget process to our viewers who may not understand it or haven't heard of it, and explain your role as a state representative in this process?
Sure, absolutely. The governor introduces his budget to the House. It starts in the House. The House will. We are currently undergoing a process and reviewing the budget to make sure, again, it's friendly to our districts and friendly to the people of Ohio. Once we pass the budget, it'll go over to the Senate. The Senate will then take a look at it and amend their budget, and then we'll probably go to a conference committee to work out our differences and to make sure that we both agree with each other's changes, and then we'll send it to the governor for his signature. But I really think it's a team effort. We have a great governor, a great Senate, and great leadership in the House under our Speaker. So I think I'm looking forward to the process, and I think it's gone smoothly so far. And I think the most important part of the process is making sure that everyone's heard. And I hear it, in my community, talking to people and their concerns with the budget or what they want of the budget. And I know that, my colleagues are doing the same. So I think that, making sure that the people are represented in the budget process is very important. And I think that's happening.
Absolutely. And typically, how long does this process take?
Well, the governor introduced his budget in early February, and we have to get it done by the end of the fiscal year in June. So it's a hefty process, but really a quick one when we're talking about a $70 billion budget.
Absolutely. Obviously all members provide their input and their expertise regarding their specific regions and backgrounds in this process. I wanted to ask what you hope to see in this budget, specifically in regards to Montgomery County.
Sure. We have a lot of great projects and issues in Montgomery County. Obviously, we want to make sure that, our schools in Montgomery County are still funded to an adequate level. And most importantly, we want to make sure that the tax environment is friendly to our businesses. Dayton had gone through a downturn, and I really believe that we're on our way up to a renaissance. So I think it's very important that our tax structure is friendly to businesses so that small businesses can grow and hire more people.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure that it's going to be a lot of work coming up in the next few months, but that you and your colleagues are up to the challenge. Representative, if a constituent has a question or concern, what's the best way they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I pride myself on being accessible. You'll see me out in the community, or you can visit me during my monthly office hours at the various libraries in my district, or you can contact me directly at rep42@ohiohouse.gov, rep42@ohiohouse.gov, or you can call my office at 614-466-6504.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Representative. It was great to talk to you.
Thanks for having
me.
me.
Get to know you. We look forward to seeing you again on the next edition of Ohio in Focus, the program that brings state government to you. Thank you for joining us.